There are two kinds of people watching this squatchumentary. The first are those who know what's in this manila envelope. The second are those who haven't seen my first squatchumentary, Cascade Bigfoot Blood Mystery. For those who've seen Cascade Bigfoot Blood Mystery and know that the movie ended in this very spot with this very envelope, there's only one question. Have you tested the blood samples for DNA? The answer to that is as easy as looking over this envelope. The simple fact is, although I have found a lab to test the samples, the cost of doing the tests was much more than I ever anticipated. When I realized that more funding was going to take what I didn't have, and what I didn't have was more time, I knew I had to rethink my strategy. As you may remember, in Cascade Bigfoot Blood Mystery, we left a lot of unanswered questions back at Mystery Lake, as well as in this manila envelope. For the answers to the questions that lie outside of this envelope, I knew from the very time I dropped Igor Burtsev off in Colville, Washington, I was not going to be satisfied until I returned to the very spot of the blood mystery. Indeed, I somehow had the notion that were I to redo everything as I'd done it the year before, that somehow the events of that mid-June might just be duplicated in 2022. As crazy and ridiculous as it may sound, I knew for sure one thing: nothing was going to happen if I didn't try. That's why I set out in the scorching heat of mid-August in search of Bigfoot and high adventure in the Cascades. Welcome to Cascade Bigfoot, Chewelah Triangle.
I currently, I'm a novelist and a photographer, but I also mostly work for the Chewelah Independent newspaper and the Silverado Express newspaper. I am chief copy editor for both papers, and I also do photojournalism for them.
Okay, and does that involve reporting at all?
I usually tell people I'm a writer who happens to work for a newspaper or two, but yeah, I guess technically that's what it ends up being.
Okay, so what kind of stories are you writing?
I write a lot about, for the Silverado, both papers are completely different, and for the Silverado I get to write a lot of really feel-good pieces about the community, and somehow I ended up being the Sasquatch reporter. It's just people are fascinated by it, and I was told that the time that we had Sasquatch on the front page of the paper was our biggest selling edition ever. It was the University of California at one of their locations had the cast of what was known as Cripplefoot They had it on display. They were doing something with it, and that actually originated from Bossburg, which is north of Kettle Falls. And so it's kind of like we are considered like the hub, one of the hubs of Sasquatch activity.
Okay. And so when you went to work for the paper, did you have any idea that you'd get into Sasquatch?
Oh, none, zero.
So can you describe your first experience? Somebody comes in with a story about Sasquatch. What's your reaction?
Well, there has been the Psychic Sasquatch conference that used to happen up on 49 Degrees North at the Learning Center. They would camp out there, and Brandon Jansen, our other reporter who's since moved on, he used to always cover that. But it was always kind of like, who's going to do this? And nobody kind of wanted to do it. And so when Jared, who's the publisher, came to me and said, hey, there's this story, do you want to do it? I'm like, well, it seems kind of interesting. Okay. So I did.
This is the first time you had an actual event or an encounter?
Oh, conference. Yeah, there was the Bigfoot town hall in Medellin Falls. That was, that place was mobbed. They filled the Cutter Theater, like absolutely filled it. There was not an empty seat. And I got a picture from the back of almost every single person with their cell phone recording, and it's kind of a neat picture. You know, and then you add Sasquatch to it, which makes it even more interesting. I think my first encounter was, I do a lot of night photography, and I was out photographing the Milky Way up Sand Canyon Road. I'm not going to say exactly where because I don't want like a ton of people going there. And I was just taking pictures, and I heard what I didn't know at the time was called a wood knock. I heard that from across the valley. And then behind me, I heard breathing. And I had lived in the wilderness for 2 years, and I'd never heard that kind of breathing before, so I decided it was a good time to leave. So, I mean, I don't know if that was an encounter or just like a serial killer or, you know, I mean, I have no idea what it was. It's not anything I'd ever heard before. So I just figured it was safer to leave.
Have you written up that encounter?
No.
Have you written up any encounters in the paper?
You know, I really haven't written about my encounters. I mostly write about my experiences going out with the, and going out on expeditions, not going out as in dating, going out on expeditions with the researchers and just the different things that they look for, what their general attitude is about, you know, and I have to say that I've been out on an expedition overnight with Will Ulmer of Bigfoot of Stevens County, and also Extreme Expeditions came out, met us up there from Spokane, Amy Boo, who I think is from somewhere in the Midwest, and then Larry Beans Baxter, who came down from Alaska, and Stephen Major, who's of Spokane, and we were all out there doing research, and I felt very privileged to be invited. They didn't even tell me a location until like that day. And Will is extremely scientific, and he always listens and says, okay, this could also be this, this, or this. You know, he's never like, oh my God, that's Bigfoot. Bruce is very interesting. Because he's had some firsthand experiences he's told me about. But, you know, same thing. We listened, we heard some branches crack. We never found any tracks or anything, but, you know, we don't know what it was.
Are there different groups that research
Bruce Trott is the Chewelah Bigfoot research team. And I think he is the only one out of Chewelah itself. There's also a number of other researchers in this area, also northwestern Idaho, Spokane. I mean, I wrote an article on that I think about a year and a half ago, and there was like 6 or so different research teams. It's very concentrated in this area.
Was all of this surprising to you when you first came across it?
Well, I'd heard about Sasquatch, when I lived on the East Coast, and, there's a Sasquatch Triangle in Ohio, and, we always joked around about it. But being out here, it's sort of different because I could see how Sasquatch could live here, but I just don't know if it's a real thing.
Mention of Bruce Trott had me intrigued. I had seen Bruce's posts on social media, and I knew he was the real deal when it came to Bigfoot research. I knew my next step would have to be to try to contact Bruce and see if I couldn't check out some of his research and some of his encounters. I knew right away when I met Bruce Trott, he was the guy to connect me to Bigfoot activity in Chewelah. I didn't know how soon he would connect me to that Bigfoot activity, but it sure wasn't going to take long.
Take you up to my property, I'll lock the gate, and you can set up base camp, and we'll start in the morning.
All right, sounds good.
Okay.
So we'll head up to the property now.
Leave right now.
All right.
I plan on taking you to a few different spots where I've had Bigfoot encounters.
On the road.
Here we go.
And I would have to see either some extremely convincing footage or see it firsthand to be like, okay, it's a real thing. But the thing that surprised me the most was all the different theories, I guess, about like Sasquatch travels on alien spacecraft, Sasquatch travels through multi-dimensions and that's why we don't see him, just all different kinds of theories about why and how and things like that I just never knew was out there. Will Ulmer found some tracks on a I think it was a snow-covered lake, and the tracks started out of nowhere, went in like a half circle, and then ended. So it's like, how did that happen? I mean, I don't know. I don't know the explanation. I don't know what made those tracks. I don't know how they got there. I just don't know. People are fascinated by the subject. They want to know more. They want the opportunity to possibly see it. Will Ulmer refers to this area as the Sasquatch Corridor, and Chewelah is like right there at the south end of it.
Cat Brooks' mention of a Sasquatch corridor certainly piqued my interest. I was here to confirm my own theory that there is what I call a Sasquatch Triangle that exists between Newport in the northwest corner, Medellin Falls on the east corner, and Chewelah in the south or southern tip of the triangle. And now I was going to get more confirmation of my theory.
There, beyond the cows and then two trees that are quite wide, there was a bipedal creature, and this was a daytime sighting, and when it turned its head, I noticed that it didn't have a snout. It was flat-faced. And it strided between them two trees, took 4 strides, and then up into the thickets of the trees, and just vanished. And it just went into the trees, and I couldn't see it no more.
How tall was it?
Oh, it's hard to estimate, but it would probably be about 8.5 to 9 feet.
Wow. So we're right in the middle of them right here.
Oh, yeah.
All right.
They're all around us.
Okay.
And this thing just strided off like, and 4 strides, and it was gone. And I had 3 people in the car with me, and I said, "Oh, there's Bigfoot right there." And Dennis looked up and he goes, "Whoa!" And then The girl in the back, she said, well, it looked like a bear to me, but all she seen was it going into after it strided off. And it went into the brush, and I said, no, when it turned its head, it was flat-faced. And that was a daytime sighting.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so how does your paper, how do they accept these stories? Are you out actually looking for them, or do they assign them to you?
I'm not really out looking for them. A lot of times what'll happen is something will come up in my Facebook feed and I'll be like, oh, that's interesting. I concentrated on checking out all the different groups like right before the Bigfoot Festival. I thought in Medellin Falls, I thought that would be something people might be interested in. But no, somehow it just always ends up on me. I don't know why. But, I'm glad. I like it because it gets me out. And, one of the things I always write in my articles is whether you find Bigfoot or not, the important thing is you're outside and you're enjoying yourself and you're out in the fresh air. And, to me, that's even a bad day Sasquatch hunting is still a good day being outside. So that's the way I look at it. And filmmakers are very hot to film Sasquatch movies here. There's one filming, I think in 2 weeks, he's going to be filming down here. And we've had a number of others approach because it's, you've got the gorgeous mountain and then you've got possibly Sasquatch. So people are all over it. I get people, I have a Sasquatch bumper sticker on not a bumper sticker, but like a little decal on the back of my truck. I mean, I know, I'm into the aurora, and doing night photography, so I guess, that's my thing, and Sasquatch is the thing of other people.
Okay, so if somebody comes to you, and tell me if this has happened before, I saw Sasquatch. What's the process? What do you do?
People don't normally come to me, they come to Bruce. People tend not to come to me about that, which I'm fine with because I don't want to be put in a position to have to judge. And I'd be like, no, I don't think you saw that, or like, oh my God, you saw that. I mean, without proof, there's not really anything I can do about it. But Will and Bruce both always record what they're told, and they look into it. And Will has come up with this data from all the people he's spoken to, and he's been able to find some patterns that are incredibly interesting. And I don't know if he wants me talking about them, so you would have to ask him. But it's, he's into the real science of it. And Bruce is great with, listening to people's stories and recording them. And so I think people probably feel more comfortable with them. They feel safer with them because they know that they're into it.
Once my camp was set up and Bruce was reasonably assured I would be all right for the night, he got ready to head back down the mountain. He was going to leave me up there by myself, but before he left, he asked me if I carried a firearm, to which I replied no and showed him my two deadly weapons, my fists. Bruce wasn't impressed, and he seemed a little bit concerned as he drove away. It wouldn't be long before I found out why. So it's a little past 12:30 at night, and so far I've heard a metallic clank off to my right, and behind me I've heard what really sounded like a wood knock. And so I'm just laying here in the tent and just waiting to see what happens next. Dogs have been barking all night, but they just started up and they're really frantic, making really strange barking noises that don't sound like the normal dogs. So there's something else that could be going on over there. But it's hard to get sleep with all this racket going on. A few minutes later, everything, the barking, the crickets, all of the night sounds just seemed to stop. I got a little suspicious because I thought, well, whatever had made those dogs bark must have moved on. And if it had moved on in my direction, I sure wanted to have a look and see just what the heck was lurking outside of my camp. Dogs are getting closer now. Whatever there's barking at is getting closer too. As the sun came up over Trott's Ridge, I was really grateful that the scorching temperatures of the day before seemed to have abated, but I couldn't be for sure if the clouds that were blocking the intense sun were going to continue. So I wanted to get going as fast as possible and start shooting and start checking out some of Bruce Trott's Bigfoot adventure. Are there people that are out there that are maybe kind of, well, I don't want to say hoaxers, but maybe they're just out there to, be sensational, to make sensational claims? Do you run into any of that?
After being out on expeditions, especially with Will, and just watching how systematically he looks at everything and weighs everything, and then seeing like some of the TV shows where they're like, oh my God, it's Bigfoot. It's like, I can't watch those because it just seems too sensational. And I mean, I told you that I had some experiences while out with Bruce that I can't explain, but I'm not immediately gonna just go nuts and be like, oh my God, it's Bigfoot. I don't know what it was.
Okay, so let's start off by what were you doing here?
I was camping, had my motorhome up back in over there, and my son and some other relatives were also camping out up here, and it was about noon, and we heard something coming down the hillside. We thought maybe it was a moose or an elk, because it was making some crash. Looked up between these trees, and I noticed, see between them two trees, the smaller ones in the background, something would push the branches back, and then just a black object appeared, right? And it was round. I couldn't see what it was, but I could see a round object that was black. And I'm like, what the heck? And so I grabbed the binoculars, and I zoomed in, and zoomed right on the face of a Bigfoot. And it was right behind that bush back there. And I couldn't believe my eyes. I was looking at Bigfoot. And I gave my son, he was sitting next to me, and I gave him the binocs, and he goes, oh my God, Dad, that's Bigfoot. And I'm like, yeah, it is. And he just sat there and watched us. He didn't throw any rocks or anything, but, just was observing us. And then after about 4 or 5 minutes, he just backed up into the tree line, or the bushes back there.
What do you think? I was watching you for 5 minutes. Did you get a sense that it was observing you? Or?
Yeah, it was just like observing us, and I didn't feel threatened because it didn't do anything. It just watching us. Mm-hmm. But it was cool to sit there and have that experience for like 5 minutes. Yeah. And then it just slipped into the woods and it was gone. I had so many run-ins with Bigfoot out of Idaho, where my mining claims are, and they've never hurt me or any of my relatives. It's always been a friendly encounter.
Are there people in the town that have a reputation of maybe seeing Bigfoot too often, or?
I don't know. Most of the people who have talked to me about it, it was a long time ago. It wasn't anything recent. And they kept it to themselves because they felt very awkward about it.
Hi, this is Bruce from Chewelah Bigfoot Research Team. This is another spot where I've had an encounter. Me and my son were back in here camping out, and we had an encounter right back here behind us. The thing came up, down the mountain, across the road, and we saw it run right through this open area. And he jumped the creek, ran up. That was before they logged. It was real thick timber, and he went all the way up. Took him about a minute and a half, 2 minutes to get to the top of that mountain. And then it crossed, and we could see it cross between these two trees where the light was coming through. And you can't tell me no man could do that in 2 minutes. You'd have to be an extreme athlete or something.
Right. So when was this, before or after your first event?
It was after.
Okay.
After we had experiences up at the campground, but this was maybe 5-6 years later.
Okay. So what made you notice this?
We heard it. We heard it coming down the mountain, kind of crash, crash, crash. And my first thought was, shit, could be a bear or a moose, whatever. And then when it started getting noisy up right here, we just kind of turned and we both looked up there, and we saw this bipedal creature, black hair, run right through that opening there, and it jumped the creek, and that's the loudest we see. It gets real thick. And so we didn't actually see it, but we could hear it make a noise as it went up.
So the first one you saw was also black?
Yeah.
So were any reason to think these were the same one?
It could be, because it's just down the other campsite's just around the corner. So.
Any reason to think it's not the same one?
I'm assuming it's probably the same one.
And how tall would you say it was?
Like 9.5, 10 feet.
Okay. And so what was the total length of time that you saw it from when it did all the things that you say until it disappeared? What was the...
Oh, it was just a matter of seconds in this spot, because we heard this noise coming through campus. So we turned our head and we saw it cross with our own two eyes, man, and it was on its two legs, and it ran through there. So it just took a matter of a second, and it was gone.
So it ran. Was it making? Could you tell how heavy it was when it was running, or?
We could hear thud, thud, thud.
Okay, but were his movements, did he seem clumsy, or?
No, very graceful.
Okay.
Very graceful.
Okay.
Yeah, if it was a human, he'd be stumbling all over the place.
Any chance of a guess at the age? You think it was a younger or older?
I think it was like a mid-age,
Male, female?
Male. I'm guessing it was a male, because I didn't see any breast.
Okay. Okay, so like before, did this, what is this site? Is this your campsite, or? No,
it's just a campsite that I found years ago, and we like it because there's water here, and I've heard, we was camped here one time, and we heard the thing scream at 2 o'clock in the morning, and at that time I had a box truck, and I was sleeping in the box truck, and my friend Bob Kinney, he's part of the team, was camping in his van, and this thing came up behind 2 o'clock in the morning, and it started. It was pounding rain, and then this thing started screaming at us, and I didn't want to get out of the van. I'm like, oh no, wait a minute. So,
in this campsite?
Right here, yeah. Right
and
here.
when and how long was it between that time and the last event?
Probably a year between events.
Okay.
Yeah.
Any ideas about maybe a family lives here?
I'm starting to think there could be, or maybe it's just that one, because there is a cave at that next campsite, the first campsite we was at. It's up in the mountain somewhere. I've never been there, but my cousin found it up there one time. And he said these big albino rats started running towards him, and he got all freaked out. And he even had a shotgun. I go, why didn't you just shoot the damn thing? He said, I've never seen no albino rat before. It was weird.
Could have been albino zombie rats. Maybe it wouldn't have helped to shoot them.
No, recently, I think in the Chewelah Independent runs a Remember When column, which has the history of the town, like 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, up to 110 years ago. And there was something in there about one guy who, as a joke, put Bigfoot feet on and ran through a field just to mess with people. But that wasn't done that was done mischievously. It wasn't done, to be mean. It was just somebody having fun. So I thought that was pretty funny. I guess on his deathbed he confessed, and it was a joke.
Once we had documented these 2 Bigfoot sightings, Bruce and I decided that he would stay in Chewelah while I returned back up to Trott's Ridge to spend the night. I was sure it was going to be another eventful night like the night before, and sure enough, I was not to be disappointed. Is there a history with the natives that you've uncovered? Have you seen anything that would point to, well, the natives think that they're here?
I have talked to some of the tribal people, the Colville tribe in Chewelah, and they believe they have seen, I've heard that there have been recent sightings, but that is their sort of private history and private experience, and I don't feel like explaining that is right. So I haven't really gone into that.
In all of you said you've had encounters that you couldn't explain. Have you came out here, you didn't know anything about Sasquatch. Yeah. Have you kind of changed any of your perceptions since you've been here?
I know more about it, but I mean, just because you know more about something doesn't mean it exists. So, I don't know. When Bruce and I were out that day and evening, this was evening, and we had a fire going, and I was sitting across from him, interviewing him for the story, and I used my cell phone with a voice recorder. And so, I'd wake the phone up every so often to make sure it was still recording, and, you see the lines going up and down, and it was fine. And then a few days later, I went to type up the interview, and it was just completely gone. It was like it never existed. And I mean, when I was done recording, I named it Bruce Trott. Everything just not there. And when I called Bruce to tell him that, apologize, super embarrassing, that we needed to redo it, he said that the analog recording that he had made was completely blank. And we just, you do what they do in horror movies. You go out when it's pitch black in the middle of the woods where there have been, Sasquatch reports, and you just go out and see what you see and hear what you hear. And I heard some things that the guys did. Our voices were not on it, nothing. So I can't explain that.
How do you begin to explain it?
If it was just mine, I would say, okay, just phone malfunction, but his as well, I just don't know. Analog and digital, I don't know how to explain that. Somebody more sciencey than me probably could come up with something. Solar flare? I mean, I don't know. I have no idea, but I don't know.
So
you want to know about the corridor?
Well, what
Just where it
what
is?
it?
Okay. The Will talks about the Bigfoot corridor that I believe runs from like Tiger Highway, which is Highway 20, that is east of Colville. It runs from there down to Chewelah. Usually like Sand Canyon area, the bottom of the Little Ponderay National Wildlife Refuge and the Colville National Forest there. So it's he said that's what he calls that, and I think that's because he's received probably the most, and I might be misremembering, but I believe that's where he's received the most reports from that area.
And have they talked about a clan being there? Have they talked about an individual? You don't.
I don't know.
Don't get into
It's.
As midnight began to approach, the dog's barking became louder and louder, and it also became closer and closer. I wasn't sure what it was that was forcing the dogs in my direction, but once again, I wanted to find out what was coming my way, and I didn't want to be in my tent when it happened. So out of the tent I went. First thing noticed, well, it looks like that cold spot is back. Second thing is, I walk over to as far as I can to where I can see the dogs and what they're barking at, but there's too much brush in the way. Have you ever been on an expedition that you actually wrote a story about?
Yes, the one that I went on with Will and Extreme Expeditions, the crew from Spokane had arrived and they were setting up their camp, so Will and his friend Adrian and we went out. And one thing I would like to say about that is there were a lot of guns involved, but those guns are for self-defense. They're not for, killing anything. If somebody comes to me and says, hey, we've done this research, we found this information, we found tracks of all different sizes or whatever. If someone wants to come to me with that information, I'll gladly report on it. I'll need to see, something to back it up. Some evidence of some sort, photographs of footprints, or take me to see them. That's why I've gone out on the expeditions, because I want to see. I want to see, what's going on. How do you do this? Is there something out there? What is it? It just usually raises more questions than anything else. Adrian usually led the way with his weapon and the light that's on his weapon. Things that the guys didn't hear, and I don't know if it was my imagination or if it's because my hearing's sensitive in a different way. I don't know.
But when we came back to camp, the exact same way we left, there was a stench that was so bad. And I smelled it first, and then Will came up behind and he smelled it. Adrian didn't smell it, so I don't know whether it happened like 2 seconds after he went by or if he was just, not paying attention. I have no idea. We thought it smelled somewhat like cow manure, or cow dung, I should say. But there were no cattle in the area, so we don't know what it was, how it got there within like the 30 to 45 minutes since we left camp. No idea. Also, there was some noise during the night. There was a baby in the camp next to us that would stop crying and then start again. And I was sleeping in my truck because I felt like I have a perfectly good metal vehicle that would be a lot safer than being in a tent if something happened. And I don't know, I was very on edge, kept waking up, thinking, okay, it's just the baby. But then when Will played the recording back from that night, you could hear a scream from out in the woods, and then the baby would start crying, and that happened all night. So, I don't know. I don't know what's in the woods screaming. Sounded like a primate, which makes no sense. So I don't know. I don't know what it is.
Okay, so you came out here not knowing much about it, and after so many years and so many experiences, you're still not going to come out and say you're a believer.
No, I haven't seen anything to convince me. I've seen the big prints, barefoot prints, this big, that are, 6 feet apart. I don't know how someone could fake those, but I've never seen anything that could make them either. So I don't know.
Hello? Hello, who's in there? Hello?
it's one of the mysteries we don't know the answers to. You know, any mystery, people, they want to know. They want to know what's going on, what is it. I mean, look at like the Area 51 stuff and those files just being released. You know, there's a whole culture that is just so into that and wants to know the truth. And, you know, kind of like the X-Files, the truth is out there and people want to know what it is. I'm interested, but I don't let it, you know, I don't think about it nonstop. It's like when it happens to arise, it's interesting, but, you know, I have other things on my mind.
Okay, I wasn't with them that day. It was Bob and Joe, the other two members of my team. And they was in a van. They pulled up right here, about where your camera was. They parked and they started walking that way. And they'd gotten maybe 2 blocks away and they hear this big crash and snap. And this tree broke. It was not broke before, because they was walking around here. They come back and they find the tree broke and they're like, holy shit. And got to looking around and they found the track. So I came back up the very next day and I cast the track. It didn't turn out very good. But you could definitely see there was 5 toes and it was, I think, 16.5 inches long. I cast 3 or 4 casts earlier in the day and then I was running out of casting material. Since then, Will Ulmer showed me a trick to that. You put sticks in the mold and then let it dry. And then when you pick it up, it acts like rebar. It don't flex and it won't break.
All right, so what happened then?
You could tell it walked that way.
Did it hop into that van and drive away?
And so we walked back here, and this was like a week later, and another team player with my team, his name is Mike Triddle, and me and him walked back here, and just for shits and giggles, we did a whoop, and we got a response. And so we did a tree knock, and we heard 4 tree knocks coming way in that thick stuff down there. And it sounded to be maybe 40 yards away in that thick stuff. My wife was camped right here with our motorhome, and down over the bank there, just good huckleberry picking. And our goal was to set out and get 20 gallons, but we'd only got 12 gallons, and we camped for 4 days. And I decided to play my Sierra sounds, so I parked on the side of the road and I started playing the Sierra sounds. And then after I got done playing the tape, I waited 15 minutes, and then I did a wood knock, and I heard 5 wood knocks, and they were all about a quarter of a mile apart from each other. And so then I did a whoop, and I got 5 whoops. And then I'm sitting here, about 15 minutes later, I'm sitting here by the motorhome in the shade, and my wife is sitting in the chair, and we hear this thud, and something, I think it was a juvenile squatch, threw a rock about that big and hit her motorhome. Just missed our bay window. And that's when my wife said, "What was that?" And see, there's not too many rocks on this grass. It's only bark and stuff. And I found a rock. It matched the dent perfectly. And I said, "That's not it." Okay. And that's when my wife said, "We're going right now. Pack up and we're going home."
My name is Will Titus. I'm 20 years old, and I had a Bigfoot sighting a while back, and I was up at my friend's property, Bruce Trott, up at his property, and it was about 12:30 at night, and I heard cans crunching, like somebody was walking. So I went out there with a flashlight, looked up, and I seen this creature bent over like this, scratching at some like charcoal or something. And I said, "Who are you?" And it gets up, and it is 12 foot tall, it's 3 foot broad shoulders, and it was hairy. Like, I shined it at its face and it covered its eyes, and you could just see the hair from out underneath its armpits and its chest and its arms. It was just massive. And then basically I was like, "What are you doing here?" And then it looked at me, tilted its head like this, and just started walking away. Big strides too.
And this is at Bruce's property up on the mountain?
Yeah.
Wow. Okay, and so did you ever, that was the one experience you had up there?
Yeah, so far.
Okay. And have you ever were you afraid?
No, I was actually kind of curious, to be honest with you.
Yep.
It was kind of cool to see like some creature that we've never seen before, that it's right in front of you, you know? So it was kind of cool.
Amazing. Because I'm staying up there right now. Will Titus' story about seeing Bigfoot going through the cans up at Trott's Ridge kind of had me concerned. Almost as concerned as I was about whatever it was trying to claw its way out of that house back up on Bruce's property. Although I asked him about it, he assured me there was nothing there. Well, that and the fact that Bruce got us lost going down the mountain convinced me that maybe I had enough evidence that there was definitely Bigfoot activity at the southern tip of the Chewelah Triangle. And now it was time to clean up my act and change in Bruce for Little John of the Bigfoot Forest. Although I cannot disclose the exact location of Little John's residence within the Bigfoot forest, I can tell you it is along the northern leg of the Chewelah Triangle. When I had been introduced to John a year ago, we had our mysterious adventure at Mystery Lake, and John had been present that morning that the mysterious blood had showed up in the tent. I needed to go back and I needed to follow up with John on not only his recent Bigfoot activity, but on some of the circumstances that surrounded that mysterious morning back at Mystery Lake a year ago with Igor Burtsev. And speaking of Mystery Lake, before I got to Little John's, I was going to have to go back to the scene of the crime, so to speak, to Mystery Lake, to set up my base camp from where, after I spoke with Little John, I would begin my investigations to replicate the same circumstances and the same events that brought about the mysterious appearance of the blood that mysterious morning in June of 2021. So, for the first time in a year, I returned back to Mystery Lake. As I returned to the lake, the sights, smells, and sounds of the place began to remind me of the summer before. I couldn't help but remember the small one-room cabin that I sometimes used the bathroom in when no one was looking. Once I had my camp set up at Mystery Lake, I prepared myself a quick meal of bacon, eggs, English muffin, and wasp, and then I was on my way to see Little John in the Bigfoot forest. Okay, so what's your interest in Bigfoot?
Was curious until I had an encounter, and then I became very interested to find answers. They were very perplexing.
When was your first encounter?
2015, Trott Lake, near Mount St. Helens in Washington.
Okay, so before that, no interest in Bigfoot, no...
Just the shows on TV, and, you know, they're always farcical at times, you know, but it was serious. Not all those people are liars. I'm not a liar, you know.
So before Trott Lake, you were a believer, or are you skeptical? Where were you?
Not skeptical, a little more to the, you know, the possibility side. You know, I'm very optimistic and open-minded, if nothing else, you know. Sorry.
So what happened in Trott Lake?
My wife and I went there on Memorial Day weekend, showed up on Sunday. We got lucky and found a vacated site that had already been paid for.
Yep. It's laid up in here. And then this looks to be an old tree break. And this, oh, look, that's dangerous. It's about ready to break right there. I won't do that again. The top up.
Sunday night, we had a little fire, went to bed probably, you know, just a little after dark probably. At that time, it was at 8, 9 o'clock. And at 2 in the morning, got up to do some business, went outside, caught a chill, came back in the tent, was shivering. And then we heard this primal sounding, human sounding, woman-like almost scream. And I haven't heard cougars, all the noises they can make, but this didn't sound like a cougar. And Lois heard it. She was awake at the time, I sort of looked at her down on the air mattress. What the was that? She goes, that was. So I lay back down, and then it's, let's say Monday, everybody left the campground. So we were there left alone. And this was sort of my plan, There's a footprint right here that I have a picture of it, I think, from the house. This was the impression. And this bark was all up in here. It pulled off and fell on the hook. Here's a piece here. And we took a trip down to Klickitat because the year earlier I was down there fishing and I found what looked like a tunnel woven out of the underbrush. And so I wanted to go take pictures of that if it was still there. And I did that, came back, and therefore we coated my truck with all that mountain of volcanic ash. And that stuff's like fingerprint dust, so it was coated my whole truck. And we get back, and that's just pertinent for later, and this is why I have the photos that I do about from the handprint and everything. I got a face print right on the side of my pickup. So that night we were there. Lois is like, it was our last night, so she said, I want to have a nice fire. So I went down, I bought 2 bundles of wood from Trout Lake and burned through everything but one stick. It was a couple inches around, still had the bark in it. On that branch, and I went down to the lake where the people were camping. I brought up a round and split it up, and made the fire out of that. It wasn't 10, 15 minutes after I started the fire, Lois is sitting there. I sit down and meditate. I had a boombox sitting on the tailgate of my truck playing Shamanic Dream, which is Buddhist meditation music, and Lois was playing with the fire, and I get meditation. I don't know if you experience it or not, but you go to like a blank spot, okay, in your own mind. It's hard to explain. At first I thought, what the hell are you talking about, blank spot? I can't stop thinking, Happens there. Because we had heard like this weird garbled noise coming from the woods the night before, and Lois even experienced that. Couldn't tell if it was coming, like it was inside the head, or if it's coming from the woods, emanating from the woods, But then the very next night is when I look over Lois just before I get to my blank spot. I open one eye and look, and she's asleep in her chair, and we just got the fire going. She wanted to play with the fire and everything, so Lois, we're gonna wake up, give her a little kick, She wakes up, she's like groggy, I go back and go to meditate. Another maybe 5 minutes pass, and I'm concentrating on the fire and the music, and I open one eye, look at Lois, she's asleep again. I thought you wanted. She said, I cannot stay awake. And we don't drink anymore, So, but she said she felt like she was almost drunk, kind of thing. And so I take her, put her in bed in the tent. We got a nice air mattress, sleeping bags, and everything. And she goes in there. I come back out alone, sit next to the fire to meditate some more. And I'm telling you, as soon as I got to my blank spot this time, I felt a presence in there already. There was something unsettling, and from that point on, I started hearing it was like a white noise. Again, hard. It wasn't like a high-pitched squeal or anything. I have tinnitus, and it was something beyond that. So, and all of a sudden, this music that I'm listening to, which is meditation music, sounds like thrash metal to me. All of a sudden, I got to turn it off. I can't even formulate a thought in my head at this point. So I get up from my chair, and I'm 15 feet from the truck, and I feel like I'm moving through thick air to get there. I mean, I'm having to think about every step that I'm taking. And when I get to the tailgate, I just slap the boombox to turn it off, you know. Now I'm standing there and I'm listening. I've got the creepiest freaking feeling I've ever had in my life. And I've been in some creepy situations before, you know. And so I put up the tailgate real slow. And again, I don't hear the crickets anymore. I really can't even hear the crackle of the fire or anything. It's just, I'm trying to concentrate on thinking straight. But I do hear the tailgate go click, click. The plungers go in. So I know I'm not deaf, you know. It's not. Put down the glass window and I go stand on the passenger side by the rear tire, facing the fire. And I had 2 tiki torches to my left, lighting the path to the tent. And the lake was behind me. And it was like a pretty bright 3/4 moon. So the moonlight's coming through like those stage spotlights, you know. That's really adds ambiance to a situation like this, you know. So I was just standing there, and I'm trying to clear my head, and I got my head sort of hung down, and I hear a hollow-sounding thud come from my truck. Boom! I look over at my truck, and I see my truck rock sideways, mind you, towards me, back, and then settle. And I'm like, cougar! No, bear! Nothing else, nothing's moving. I don't hear anything, I don't see anything. I'm like, no way. No, it comes over me. It's got to be freaking Sasquatch, man, you know? And I work up the nerve. And again, I'm alone. I've been warned not to do this beforehand, talking to some people, you know, if you're going to go out and do research, don't do it alone, you know? But I'm out there alone, and still, I got my headlamp on at this point. So I work up the nerve to walk to the back. I'm standing by the rear tire, right? So I walk down along the tailgate, and I look down the side, and my headlamp illuminates that dust that was on my truck floating in the air. There's no wind to blow it away. It's just floating, suspended almost, you know? It's glistening. And I'm like, oh, no way, man. So I went over, I put out the fire with what's left of her Pepsi in her can and some water. And, you know, doused it. Again, that's important. So I go in and I go into the tent. I put out the tiki torches. I go in my tent. I grab my keys off the floor, and I'm like, oh, just in case there's some mountain folks up here messing with me, you know, I'm gonna lock my truck up. And I remember thinking, don't beep the horn, but I pushed that Fromm twice, and that freaking Ford horn is loud. That goes through the forest. I'm like, I didn't want to do that, you know. Something just told me, no loud noises. So Lois is in there, sawing logs, if you don't mind the expression. I try to wake her up, and I'm like talking like this, you know, my freaking adrenaline's pumping. And as a matter of fact, it's 40 degrees out, and I'm sweating. She won't wake up. She will not come to. She's like groggy, you know. I'm like, Lois, you know, she basically rolls over and goes back to sleep. So I decide to lay down on top of everything, still clothed on the air mattress. I'm staring at the top of the tent, and my tent's, it's white. It's on top, on the roof. Goes from red walls to blue on the bottom. And man, right where I'm staring, I see the shadow of a round object flying horizontally through the air and hits the freaking tent roof right where I'm looking, and then bounces twice and proceeds to roll right off the front where the door is to the tent. And I'm like, sit up. What the hell? Oh, she still won't wake up. So I'm like, what's it gonna do next? I know, you know, we're not under a pine tree, you know. It wasn't a pine cone. It was, and it rolled like a marble, you know, probably bigger than a marble. But anyhow, so I'm sitting there with my elbows on my knees, and the wall of the tent's right here, and there's a window here, and there's a window over there, and I've just got my head again lowered. I'm just listening as hard as I can listen, and I hear what sounds like the tent being ripped open. Just this loud tearing noise. I scream like a Girl Scout with a bad mouth. What the fuck? And I reach down underneath the air mattress and I pull the rifle out. And I got to sit in my lap now. And I think my first thought is, this doesn't make me feel any safer. What am I going to do? Shoot at his shadow? If it does, you know, because I'm expecting it like to come up, maybe push on the tent or something. I've heard those stories, you know. And I'm like, but I'm sweating bullets now, you know. I got the rifle on my lap. And I did have the thought though also, wow, I just shoot a hole in the tent and the noise will wake Lois up because I'm going through this alone right now, you know. So I sit there probably, I don't know, 10, 15 seconds. Not even that long. Again, you lose track of time when this shit's going on, but I can see through the wall of my tent a flame lick up out of my fire pit. Like a 10-inch, 12-inch tall single flame just dance up out of my fire pit. I'm like, what the hell? I zip down the window, and as I zip down the window, the flame goes out, bro. As I zip it back up, going, at least I didn't have to go back out and put the fire out. And then I sat there for the next 7 hours until sunrise, first light. And sure enough, Lois wakes up. I can wake her up now. So I run through the whole thing, getting ready to leave the tent, for the first time since this. And I'm like, wait, we got to find, because we had a little rug outside our tent. There should be a stone on it. And again, we're on top of a ridge there's no stones. There's some rocks and boulders, but there's no stones. And we go out and we look, and then we step out and we walk all around the tent, and we can't even find any stones that might resemble what I seen, I'm like, okay, well, I heard, whatever. I heard the stories that they carry a favorite rock around with them in case for whatever. Maybe they throw it at a rabbit or something, who knows, or humans. And again, later, after talking to some researchers and scientists, they thought it was juveniles. But let me finish about waking up in the morning, because then we went from the tent and we went over to the fire pit. I wanted to see, because I had put that fire, which was only burning like 10, 15 minutes anyhow, but it burnt the top of the logs and stuff, but I put it out with liquid. I doused it, and we get to the fire pit, man. Now people have been camping there for a week prior. This is after the Memorial Day, right? Or the day after Memorial Day, Tuesday. There's no charcoal. There's no burnt logs. There was like 3. I made my teepee and the kindling, the typical campfire thing. It's all gone. There's nothing but a flat, smooth layer of ash. Not even any marks in the ash, like scoop marks or anything. So, that I wish I had, but I didn't get pictures of. I was kind of frazzled because I wanted to move on to the next thing, to the side of the truck where I saw where I think it was where it was. And we go over there and I look, and you can barely see. Again, it's early morning light, and you can't really see the marks but I can see that there's marks there. So I get the wise idea. I had a 2 million candle power searchlight. And I had Lois stand at the back of the truck and shine it on this side angle down the side of the truck, illuminated that ash, that diamond ash, so you could see all the marks clearly. You can even see in the pictures I have hairs, individual hairs that came off of this thing. And after taking those pictures, we basically, she's like, you want to stay another night? I'm like, no, no, we got to go. I've been awake for 36 hours, man, And I'm quite honest with you, I haven't been the same psychologically since then. Not that I'm crazy. Now I see why all these people who have experiences, people make them out to be crazy, because it sounds crazy when you relate your story. But again, from that point on, now this is again coincidental, I suppose. We were living in Kennewick in 2015 when this happened. We drove to Mount St. Helens and back. And then in 2016, they had the first annual International Bigfoot Conference in Kennewick, right where I live. Oh, and the year before that, I went to the last Primal Peoples Conference there. I met some researchers there, Tom Cantrell and those guys, Lone Wolf from the Yak Res. And so I got in with these folks and started going to these conferences around. Festivals are different than conferences. Conferences, they compile and share information. This is a researcher type deal. Festivals are just merchandise, which is, taken off tremendously since 2015.
Well, what I'd like to know about is, so you had the Trout Lake experience, but what about did after that did stuff start happening on your property?
Well, we didn't have the property at that point, and that's what provided us the opportunity to buy this place, which was 2019. And we stayed in the little camper the first summer. The place was trashed with just everything you could think of. And we spent that summer getting it cleaned out. And then the next summer we came, and let's see, that was 2019. I can't remember the order of things, but yeah, it was right in the first summer, I think, when Gary was cleaning out with his tractor. He took down that mound of dirt 2019. I was with my friend Kurt. We had a little fire, first little campfire we had here. And he was hearing things. He spent the night in the tent, and I slept in my camper. And he was hearing all kinds of things in the swamp down there. You know, you didn't want to sleep in the tent the next night. But well, we cleaned out this bottle pit. We call it the bottle pit because the 12-foot deep hole, 20 feet around, was filled with nothing but plastic and aluminum pop and beer bottles, you know, cans. So we cleaned that thing out, and it took us like 3 days. We spent 2 days up here. We got close to finish, and we went back to Kennewick, and we came back, 24 hours later, and there's a tree down there at the bottle pit, which I think you had seen, I showed you before, it was in the spring, so it had new leaves on it. It was a deciduous, like a birch, I think. And it had green leaves on it, new sprouts. It was busted in half, 6.5 feet off the ground. Just snapped in half, laid across to where, from that bottle pit, if you wanted to enter the swamp, which looks like there's a lot of things do, it now blocks that path. And, you know, again, after the experience and just talking to scientists and actual researchers and stuff, I took that as a sign from Squatch that that's the swamp down there.
So are you convinced there's a clan or something operating?
If they don't just pass through, I mean, in my personal belief at this point, because one of the photos I have is of it seems like a left footprint. It's I think it was over 16 inches long in the fresh dirt over here, and right next to it, I'm telling you, look like two baby Squatch footprints. They're only like this big, but they're perfectly parallel, and right next to the left footprint, like if you take your child and you set it down next to your leg and it holds onto your leg like this, it's going to leave footprint. And again, I believe they did it on purpose. They know. This place was vacant for 2 years. There was actually, I think, a cougar denned up over here on one of these stumps and stuff. So the new people come in. It's been deeded since 1952. There's been a menagerie of folks living here. Transient woodcutters, you know, had 2 camps here. And so they're in touch with the environment way more than we are. I've been here 3 years now. I feel much more in touch also. And I don't feel as uneasy as when I first got here. Again, you know, not everybody's mental state is great these days, but yeah, so it makes me even question some things. But when there's undeniable, you know, broken trees, footprints, you know, and then I start walking around here, and you can see like some of the woods looks like it's been set up as a maze. There are trees woven in between other trees. There's a big X down the trail off my property on the neighbor's property, which we have permission to walk on. But it's like 10, 15 feet up in the air, and there's a big X between 2 trees where just 2 broke trees are shoved up there, you know. So
Okay, again?
First of all, this tree, which was placed here, has no root ball. It was placed between these 2 trees quite a long time ago, by the looks of it. And then, which makes the X when this tree that comes from way back there, probably about 20 feet in the woods, and falls across this one, which is hung up by that tree, and then this dead one's hanging right over the trail. That's more than one person. That's more than you've made.
Yeah.
Right? You didn't step that big.
I'm not that heavy. I'm
Right. And look at this little rock.
must be 100 pounds of that.
oh, I get the feeling because I found again some prints that are hard to make out down here on the creek in the mud that look like smaller, like maybe it was an infant 2 years ago and now it's grown. You know, they're not 16-inch footprints. You know, so if they didn't leave the juvenile to winter over here or whatever, I don't know if they go up into caves. I mean, they can get all the way into Canada or down to the Blue Mountains from here, and who knows how far they may migrate. Some may migrate further, some may just stick to a home territory. This I'm not sure, but they've made sure that we know that they're here.
And you're sure they're here?
Yeah, I mean, maybe not right now. Like I said, there's caves. This is all mining. This whole valley was all old mine shafts that are vacated now and abandoned. So if not just moving through, because we're between these two mountains. And actually the one mountain toes out just a little bit south of here, and this one toes out over there. So that's a natural funnel for all wildlife, So where you find the game, again, you're going to find squatches, and, I consider them being omnivores, we just found unexplainable things, little stick glyphs. There was that perfect rectangle across the road that had a stick stuck through, it was like a diver down flag, I don't know what it means, but I know we didn't do that, and, those kind of things don't really happen that often in nature, 4 90-degree angles, And then we had some of our bean plant leaves laid on top of each other with all of the stems coming together, and the leaves were like this, and it formed like an arrow pointing over there across the swamp. It was over on that side of the fence. We had some friends over, and we hadn't even been in that part of the yard. We were just walking around showing them, and the deer come up and eat these bean leaves, but they don't, display the leaves out there, whatever, there was no teeth marks on them. They were just pinched off and laid down over there, But, so yeah, the power went out in January, early morning, 2, 3, something like that. And I come out here in the dark, and you can't even hear the electric lines out on the road because there's no electricity. As soon as I get to my green container where my generator is, I hear whack. I bend over. As soon as I bend over and touch the lock, whack on a tree. Wood on wood, coming. It's probably 200-300 feet over here to the other side of the driveway, and that sounded like where it came from. And I stood up. I go, what was that? And then another whack, whack, just to let me know they were there, man. In the middle of winter, there was no wind. So,
Well, okay. Well, let's go. Let's jump to this this thing at the lake. Now, the last time, this was a year ago, and you came down with Igor, Burtsev, and I, and you stayed down at that lake. Why did you come down there in the first place?
Well, I felt privileged to have Igor come out here in the first place. I met you guys at the Medellin Falls, and what was it? Oh, I become aware of the other meeting in Kettle Falls, and I just wanted to, Todd Neese, he had come here and spent the night, where we went out with his infrared and stuff. All the batteries went dead in the stuff, man, as soon as we got out there. So that's why I went, and then I met Igor, and you guys came out here and showed you around, sort of verified, what Igor saw and what he videoed and stuff, made me feel more confident that I'm not just, because it's easy to get carried away. Seriously, I hear noise out here at night, sometimes I'll figure out what it is, sometimes I won't, but, just like the trees moving against the deck, sounds like something tapping,
Well, did you get, when you went down there, have you been to that lake before? Have you ever stayed?
Lois and I went, sightseeing up there just to check it out. That was it.
Did you have, you stayed there one night, right? Yeah. Okay. Did you have anything unusual? Anything weird?
Well, I hardly slept the whole night. And it was a pretty nice night, too. I remember I had the tent windows open and stuff. And I was uneasy, and again, it's hard to distinguish feelings of a presence and feelings of your own making, you know what I mean? It's easy to do. So again, I spent a lot of time confused out here, but the point is I was unusually, I actually, when I left the campground,
Before we get to that, do you remember the UFOs? Do you remember seeing the UFOs?
I wasn't there.
You were there. You saw them with me.
I don't.
You were there. I showed you. They were right overhead when we first got down.
Oh, I remember you saying something. Yeah.
But you didn't see it.
I didn't witness that. No.
Oh, okay. So what happened after you got up in the morning?
Yeah, I got up in the morning. We're breaking camp. I split early because I wasn't feeling well. For that whole summer, which was last year, I getting like a tension in my chest and stuff, and So when I left the campground there, I turned the wrong way to come home. I mean, I really should have known what I was already so a little confused. And I didn't know I was going the wrong way. And I'm having a hard time breathing now while I'm driving down the mountain road, so I'm getting even more tense, granted. But I get to the sign that says I own that way, like 10 miles. I'm like, oh, I got to drive all the way back, and logging trucks. And I was so frazzled by the time I got to the pavement out here on the left. I made a left and went to Colville and went to the high emergency room because I was short of breath, starting to see little stars, and I know what it feels like to pass out. I've done it a few times, but it's hard to explain. Heat, smoke. There was a lot of heat and smoke last year. Maybe that had an effect on me for the whole summer. I'm not sure. But again, when I think back to how hard I come out here and think at night, at midnight or 2 in the morning, sometimes I'll come out here and just look at the stars or listen,
Yeah. Well, what did you think when I told you about that blood? Because you had left, so...
Yeah, I didn't see the pool of blood either. And my first thought was when Igor went swimming in the lake, when he was coming out, I couldn't pull him over the rail the second time. He dove in. I said, Igor, just pull yourself along the dock here, and when your feet can touch bottom, you can walk out, So he did that, and as soon as he put his feet down, he said, ow. But that's it. I mean, I didn't see any blood. I didn't see that he cut his foot because he immediately got out and went back to the camp, and I stayed out there talking to the guy fishing, And but yeah, I was completely surprised. I was surprised when you told me what you found there, Yeah, I don't know. Again, it's it would be my opinion that you were calling them, but which may have gotten their interest. But I believe that they have like sentries that sit and watch certain areas where the public goes all the time to make sure nobody's going to come their way. You know what I mean? And maybe they did come down. Igor has an ability, I'll call it. So I don't know. All I can say is you need to get it tested. Then that would maybe answer, if not provide more questions. But and I know it's probably difficult to talk to Igor now since he's in Mother Russia.
No, I talk to him all the time.
Oh, do you? Okay.
I can get him on WhatsApp Messenger right now if we have internet.
Yeah, we don't have internet, right? But that would answer your question there if he, because again, like I said, he is older, and I end up cutting myself these days and don't even realize it till I see the blood. So getting it tested really, if it's not Igor's, then it's something other.
Yeah, exactly. All right. So last question. What about this? What is it? The ridge?
Oh, if you go up.
Yeah.
There's a power line cut to where you could go up there with heat seeking or infrared and see probably a couple miles at least.
So and see what?
Well, there's no trees, so you could see if there was anything crossing. It's like where hunters go. Hunters go up to those power line cuts to see game crossing and all that. If you want to stand a chance of seeing it, you're going to have to see it in the open. So that's one of the few open spots you can get to,
And what's the road like up there?
They don't come out past for no reason.
I ain't doing that.
It's not your truck would handle. I took the escape over it.
Returning to Mystery Lake, I was more than convinced I had enough evidence, many Bigfoot, that were present in what I call the Chewelah Triangle. I'd investigated the southern tip, I'd investigated part of the northwest tip, and now I was going to investigate at Mystery Lake, the scene of the blood mystery from a year before. It was my intention to repeat all of the things that I had done in the hopes of enticing whatever it was to, if possible, leave a sample of blood on my tent once again. But that meant I was going to have to do all the things I had done before. That meant getting on the boat, Bigfoot calling, and patrolling the area. Stay tuned for what I found in Cascade Bigfoot Blood Mystery 2.